Picture this, you've just arrived at a tiny train station in the middle of Hokkaido, Japan. It's so small, there's not even a ticket machine there. You can't use your transport card, there are 0 taxis, and you're out here trying to get to a ski resort to try out the famous powdered snow. But now you're completely stuck. What do you do? After traveling to 24 countries across Europe and Asia, this is the kind of experience that I value the most. Where things don't go as planned and you have to figure it out as you go. Most people online, they tell you to pack your cute outfits, book the perfect Instagram hotel, and get a nice tan at the beach. Now, don't get me wrong, that can be really nice, but that's not what this video is about. If you're someone who actually wants to experience something real while traveling, not just take photos for social media, then this video is for you. I'm going to be sharing with you the lessons that nobody talks about, the things I've learned by stepping out of my comfort zone and into the unknown. This isn't about where to stay or what to see, it's about how to travel in a way that changes you. Now let's get into it. Lesson number 1. Figure out what kind of trip you actually want to go on. Because when you're out in the world traveling, there are 2 different kinds of trips you can go on. The first one is a vacation. The standard, you're chilling at a beach, getting a nice tan, all that good stuff. But if you're anything like me, you get pretty bored after like 2-3 days chilling at a beach. But luckily, there is the second option. Adventure. When you travel to a bunch of different places in a country, things go wrong, you have to improvise. You're spontaneous. You're talking to strangers. You're making mistakes and you're growing and learning. Both these kinds of trips are valid, vacation and adventure. But you just gotta be honest with yourself and decide what you actually want to do. Lesson number 2 is that spontaneity is where the best stories come from. I really think that the best experiences happen when you're willing to be spontaneous and leave your comfort zone. Let me tell you a story. So I was traveling with a friend. We were in Japan in Sapporo on a train out to some different city called Hakodate. And on this train, we just started to randomly talk to this Chinese family. And, didn't think too much of it. Cool little interaction on the train. We went our separate ways. And then the next day, we were just out sightseeing. And then at some random tourist destination, we just bump into each other again. And then we just ended up spending a whole day together. And it was like the coolest day of the whole trip. And we for sure didn't write down hang out with random Chinese family when we were planning this trip. So the moral of the story is just to say yes to random opportunities, talk to strangers, be flexible. Because this is where the stories happen, and this is where you get some really cool memories to look back at. Lesson number 3 is that who you travel with matters a lot. I would think that people, when they travel, they either travel with friends or family. So I'm not saying that don't travel with people you don't like, because that's just stupid. You wouldn't travel with people you don't like. But I'm still saying that who you travel with matters a lot. Still. Because mismatched travel styles ruin trips. If you want adventure, but the people you travel with want vacation, then no one's going to be happy. You and the people you travel with, you got to have similar goals in mind. Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to experience? And if you're traveling with a big group and they're like, some people want adventure, some people want vacation, then it might just be better to split up for a little while than to force it. Like, I've had to do this. I was traveling with a group of friends in Japan and we had different goals. We wanted different things. So we just split up a few times. I went and did things I wanted. They did the things they wanted. We had a good time. And then got back together and we did the things we wanted to do together. And sometimes when we did split up is when I had some of the most interesting and fun experiences of the whole trip. That's not because the people I was traveling with were like holding me down. So because we wanted different things and it doesn't make anyone right or wrong. But before you travel with someone, talk with them about expectations. Like, be honest with what kind of trip you actually want to have. Lesson number 4. Things will go wrong. Improvise. When you're out in the world traveling, going on your adventures, being spontaneous, expect things to sometimes go wrong. Not all your plans are going to be perfect because you're in a foreign country, you don't know everything. Like, for example, do you remember the story I told you at the beginning of the video when I was stuck at a train station? Well, basically what happened there was me and a friend, we were in Hokkaido, trying to get to a ski resort to try out the famous powdered snow. Well, we did what we usually do. We followed Google Maps. Google Maps led us to a completely deserted train station, no taxis, we couldn't get to the ski resort, so we were like, okay, what do we do? We ended up walking like 30 minutes to get to a different station, and from there we can take a train to a Shinkansen station that we passed earlier. And if you're not familiar with the Japan and Shinkansen, it's basically high-speed bullet trains, and those Shinkansen stations are usually a lot bigger than the normal stations. So we just took a gamble, got to this station. There were actually taxis there, so we got a taxi, we got to the ski resort, everything worked out. So yeah, things will go wrong, then you're just gonna stay calm, problem solve, improvise. All of this is part of going on adventures. Lesson number 5. Longer trips lets you actually understand a place. 2 weeks on vacation might feel really long, but you don't really know a country until you've stayed for like at least 2 months. 1 to 2 weeks, those are like the short tourist trips. You get the tourist experience, everything is sunshine and rainbows, everything's awesome. When you stay for longer, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months, then you actually start to live there in the country. And the reason I know this is because I'm talking from personal experience here. My 5-month stay in Japan can't even compare to a 2-week trip to Spain. There's no comparison between the two. Because when you stay there for longer, you start to learn things that you could never learn as a tourist. You get a daily routine in this country. You see how locals actually live. You get immersed in the language, the culture. You get to see what it's really like in the country. Not just the highlights, but also the bad parts. So if you're someone who's thinking about moving abroad maybe long term, then you have to do a longer trip first, just to test it out. See if you actually like living there, not just being a tourist there. And that's a big difference. And if you're someone who's like actually serious about wanting to move abroad, then you should consider checking out my coaching program on how to move abroad the right way. It's the first link in the description. I highly recommend it. Go check it out after this video. Lesson number 6 is to take risks, but don't be stupid. Like, adventure requires a certain amount of risk, but it should be calculated. Don't be reckless is what I'm trying to say here. So, let me paint a picture. You should talk to local people, should try local food, you should try and go to the more unknown spots, say yes to invitations, but don't be a retard. You should stay safe, respectful, and responsible. So don't flash expensive stuff in sketchy areas, don't get blackout drunk, and respect the local customs. Like, you don't want to be that guy that travels to Colombia with your brand new iPhone, act like you're all high and mighty with all your cash, and then end up getting robbed and killed by a group of criminals. They're going to dump you in like the middle of nowhere. And on the topic of not being an absolute idiot, here are some practical advice that can help you while you're out on your adventures. So the first is to pack light, because when you're out on your adventure, you're going to be moving around a lot, sleeping in different places, so mobility matters. It's going to be really annoying if you have to run around with 2 big suitcases instead of just having a large backpack or a bag. The second thing is to get an eSIM before you travel, because this way you get data the moment you land. It's just for safety and convenience. And the last and final thing is to get a small crossbody bag to have your passport, cash, cards, and a smaller backpack for things like clothes, maybe a camera, and you also get some extra space to put the things you buy when you're out traveling. This way you also don't put everything into one place. So again, safety and convenience. So there you have it. Those were my biggest lessons about travel that nobody tells you. And if you're someone thinking about traveling or even moving abroad eventually, just remember, the perfect trip doesn't exist. The best trips are the ones when you embrace the chaos, adapt when things go wrong, and stay open to whatever happens. Thanks for watching, and if you found this helpful, please subscribe for more content on travel and moving abroad. See you next time.